Hello YouTube. This is a first video I am doing on this channel. I just thought I'd start off my new channel with a nice little build video. I might turn this into a series if you guys like it or if anyone watches it. Excuse me. I thought that this would be a good starting point, as it is an extremely popular thing that people are doing on YouTube nowadays, and so I figured it'd be a good place to start. So this build is called the Greybeard. He's a Nord, medium build preset, male, obviously, because you can't really have a female Greybeard. The attire he's going to wear is, as you can see in the video, a Greybeard hood, Greybeard boots, Greybeard robes, as well as a gold diamond necklace, and a gold diamond ring. These can be switched out. Obviously you have to use certain mods in order to get the Greybeard robes, but the gold diamond necklace and the gold diamond ring can be swapped out beforehand, like in the early mid-game they can be swapped out. I would also suggest getting a mod where you can get multiple enchantments, more than 2 that is, on each piece of equipment. And with that, I would also, for this particular build, suggest getting an unlimited shouting mod. That's going to come in really useful. You don't have to do this next part, but adding a mod that can get you all the shouts in the game would also be extremely useful. For homes, I would suggest getting the Scarlet mod, which is it's a mod. Basically it gives you a buildable boathouse you can travel around in. Main skills, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't really focus too much on skills. Maybe restoration, but honestly, skills aren't really going to be a big thing for you. Enchanting would be a good skill. Smithing isn't really going to have much point, seeing as you are going to be wearing robes the entire time. You'll have to smith you could find, but basically you're not really going to need much smithing, so smithing isn't exactly a top priority. Neither is, well, I mean, enchanting is kind of a decent priority. It's not exactly a top priority, but it is good to have to make it so you don't die immediately from getting hit by a sword. For a starter home, when you're first starting off, if you don't want to get the Scarlet right away, I would suggest Breeze Home. That's a good starter home. As for like jobs that your character will take up, I would most likely just go around going dungeon diving, adventuring, stuff like that. I wouldn't necessarily get a family. I don't think having a large family would necessarily be a good idea. Especially because this guy's an ex-Greybeard and they're kind of hermits, so a family isn't exactly a top priority for this particular build. Favorite foods, I would go with probably pie, like apple pie, because, you know, what Greybeard doesn't love pie? And to give him a bit more of a Nord punch, some mammoth cheese bowls would be another good food for him to eat. I would definitely suggest using the I Need mod for this. I use it in all my playthroughs, so I Need is extremely useful. I would suggest using I Need. And that would also make the favorite foods kind of a bit of a an added bonus to actually being able to eat them and having to eat them. As for alcoholic beverages, I would suggest Blackbriar Reserve because, well, he's a Nord, and Nords like mead. For a more etiquette-esque drink, such as a wine, I would suggest going for Argonian Blood Wine, because it is one of the more expensive wines, and this particular character is supposed to be a more wealthy character, hence why he owns his own boat. As for a non-alcoholic drink, I would go with water from Waterskins if you do get the I Need mod. Alliances and factions, the factions in general, I wouldn't suggest joining or going against any in particular. Specifically, I mean, you could go maybe into the Mages College, I guess. I mean, honestly, there's not really many factions that would do all that good with just shouting all the time, because as I might have said before, I might not have, your main thing you're going to be doing is just shouting, using shouts all the time. You will be occasionally using restoration, and alchemy might also be another minor skill to invest in to get yourself some more healing potions, but then it's not a necessary skill, because of your you can find good healing potions out and about. I would maybe do the main quest line to get, you know, as many shouts in there as possible. I would also do the Dragonborn quest line to try and get some more shouts, like such as the Cyclone shout, as you can see in the video. Also, Bend Will is another one that would be good to get from the Dragonborn quest line. But your main goal is to try and get every shout in the game. So those are the only two quest lines I would mainly focus on. You can delve into any one that you see fit, but those are the two that I would mainly focus on. I would suggest getting as for his fears, he is afraid of. These are purely for role-playing purposes. The fears and courages and all this. These are mainly for role-playing purposes. You can customize and tweak these to your heart's content. These are just suggestions. Fears, spiders, because, well, hermits aren't exactly used to seeing big, giant spiders. Heights, which this is a role-playing for more of an ex-Greybeard character over a Greybeard character, specifically because living on top of a mountain, it could have been one of the reasons why he left the Greybeards, was because of the fear of heights. Fear of thunder could be another thing that he would be afraid of. As for his anti-fears or courages or whatever you want to call them, he's pretty good in small spaces, living in a monastery for almost his entire life. Wild beasts. I mean, living on top of a mountain, you're bound to find a lot of wild beasts that you come up against. And general threats. Stuff like, for example, impending volcanic disaster. It would be perfect. I mean, that's not exactly a good example, but that would be an example of just general threats. He's kind of a fearless type of character, except for his few fears. As for buffs, I would definitely go with a higher speech skill, which I guess could also go into his stat spread, or his skill spread, but honestly, I just think a high speech skill with, you know, is a decent amount of perk points put into certain, put into specifically the persuasion and intimidation, like the right branch, and a little bit into the left branch as well to get, better prices and such. He's also pretty OP, seeing as he does use shouts a lot, which, I mean, I guess he does kind of make up for only wearing robes, which, I mean, I guess that's kind of a little benefit there. And Some of his fatal flaws, he's kind of cocky. Well, when I say kind of, I mean he's extremely cocky. He likes to charge into battle without a second thought. He will go in and just basically blast somebody in the face and not even give a damn about it. He also is pretty selfish. He's not exactly a very giving person. He's a very self-centered person because he was rejected by the Greybeards. He's got that rejection factor. He doesn't really trust people very easily. So him being selfish kind of makes up for all that mistrust. His most prized possession that he owns would probably be his gold and white statue of Dibella, which you can get by stealing it from Helga at Helga's bunkhouse. I'm pretty sure that's where you get it. As for his miscellaneous info, he's about 84 years old, being an old man Greybeard, you know. His moral standing, this is one thing that sets him apart from a lot of the other Greybeards. He's very, well, he doesn't hesitate to kill, and he will kill for no reason. Well, he normally has a reason. He does it with a logical reason, but he doesn't really mind who he kills, what he kills for, as long as there's some aspect of reason to it, he will kill. As for his general personality, he's a very cocky, very social person, and he tries to be very outgoing, but he doesn't trust people easily, so he won't talk about himself much, but he will try and interact with other people. As for his wealth, I would try and get as much money as possible. He is supposed to be a very wealthy person. And he is very, he tends to spend a lot of money as well. Being born into a wealthier family, which I'll get into the backstory in a little bit. Being born into a wealthier family, he has kind of given up the aspects of humbleness and poverty. He'll spend money almost as fast as he gets it, but he will gain a lot of money doing jobs such as he'll go out and he'll chop wood. He'll definitely go out adventuring. He'll try and pick up as many bounties as possible. As for his law obedience, he doesn't necessarily like breaking the law, but he also doesn't necessarily enjoy, he doesn't against breaking the law. So he's not exactly a very law-abiding person, but then again, he doesn't like to break the law, so he's kind of in the middle in that sense. As for favored shouts and powers, pretty much all shouts are fair for him to use. I would suggest mainly going with the shouts shown in the video. Your generic, fire breath, frost breath, slow time, unrelenting force, stuff like that. Just your generic shouts that you would use. Those would be the ones that I would use the most, but any shout that you can find is worth using. Now, onto the backstory. He grew up in a very wealthy family. He always had, pretty much everything he wanted. So, he always craved power. And as a result of that, he ended up trying to get the ultimate power, which was to become a Greybeard. Learn every possible shout that he could. So at the age of about 10, he was sent off to be trained as a Greybeard. And he would train for about 30 years to be a Greybeard. He would learn about every shout that he could with the Greybeards, and eventually he ended up getting bored. And that results in him leaving. their whole mindset of, peace and trying to, connect with the sky and whatever, he didn't really find that interesting. He wanted to have that bit of freedom, in the sense that he would kill, he could, do what he wanted to, he could steal. So he also, when in his time in the Greybeard, learning the voice, he also learned a lot about his own voice. He became a very social person, in the sense that he was able to trick a lot of people pretty easily. So I would, as I said earlier, go and invest into the speech skill in certain areas to make him, able to pass a lot more speech checks and stuff like that. He also, after he left the Greybeards, started wandering, and he used his accumulated wealth he had made and saved during his time with the Greybeards to buy Breezeholm. So he will eventually, probably after you end up getting, to the point where you would buy Breezeholm, he buys Breezeholm. Or you could use the alternate start mod and start off immediately with Breezeholm, and then use a mod like a cheat menu or cheat room, or some other mod to get the Greybeard robes. And then I use the Leveler's Tower to kind of, get myself up to the point where I could enchant to the fullest potential. I also use the Leveler's Tower mod to get an extra bonus enchantment type of thing, where you can get 4 enchantments on each item. You can get you can also use the cheat room mod to get all the shouts in the game if you don't want to walk around Skyrim to gather all the shouts yourself. As for his stat spread in the means of health and magicka and stamina, I would suggest putting almost every point you have into health, and if you ever need any more carry weight, then I would suggest going with maybe a tiny bit of stamina, maybe a 1 to 10 ratio of health to stamina. So that would be my best suggestion, would be to go and put most of your points into health and putting a few points into stamina, specifically for the carry weight aspect of it. Other than that, I mean, there's not really much else. Just try and find out which shouts you find to be the most useful. I would suggest going to use mainly your 2 main your healing spells, basically, to get your just 2 basic healing spells to in each hand, not 2 in each hand, but 1 in each hand, to make sure you can heal up when need be. But I think you can. I think that's about it. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends about me. You could definitely use the support. And other than that, you can just check out the rest of the video, and I'll be quiet because I haven't really been doing that all that much. So yeah, have fun and try and be sky guard you and whatnot, or rather not sky guard you. Anyway, you have a good day, all of you, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yes?